Good afternoon and welcome to our Daily Observer discussion program. It is 20 years since the Rwandan genocide, and today we are really going to focus on the victims and the remembrance of the event. Is this really necessary? To have this discussion program, I have social and political expert, Mr. Samsung, and concerned citizen Abby, and we have one of the journalists. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
To begin with, Abby, is this really necessary to remember such events?
Yes, it is. And I say this because the war was so terrible that even as a survivor, I cannot begin to explain the horrors that I saw. Now, if I can tell my grandchildren and tell my children what happened during the war, consciously, they would not let the same thing happen. When they see the signs, they would understand that this happened to my mother. I don't want to go through this. My mother said this. This shouldn't happen to me as well. I remember this war started the genocide was just like the aftermath. There was already a conscious elite war, basically, in Rwanda, basically where the Tutsis and the Hutsus, and then we had moderate Hutus as well. The Tutsis were told that they were different from the Hutsus and they were much more better. Now, if my child can see that a Hutsu neighbor or a Tutsi neighbor were the same, there would be no difference. It all started from class segregation, and I don't want that to happen. So yes, they should remember every day. It should be remembered.
Do you agree, Prosper? Do you agree, Abby?
I can't say I agree with how not, because as I know, to remember anything is part of our life as a human being. We don't need anyone to come and teach us how to remember. But as a conflict, this was conflict between one tribe to another, now then created to be a war where millions of people killed, both sides of a tribe. But for me, point is to remember killings or genocide is not an issue. The issue is, why do we insist to remember? What is inside that remembering? Do we going to
Can I say something that
Abby, just hold for a moment.
Okay.
We'll get back to you with the Prosper's question on why do you want to remember these things. But before that, I would like to ask Samsung, being an expert, what do you think? How necessary is it to remember?
Thank you very much, Kinga. We cannot deny the fact that what happened in Rwanda was the most horrific, traumatic event that country had to witness during that genocide in 1994. And of course, if you go through the statistics, over 400,000 people were said to have survived out of that 100 days of genocide. And of course, you go through the statistics as given by the United Nations, where you have about 6 men, 4 women, and almost 5 children being killed every minute. Now, having gone through those traumatic, harrowing experience, the survivors of those experiences will begin to ask themselves, if I'm to remember this horror, just like one of the guests on this show is saying, to what extent is that going to benefit me? And on the other hand, other people who live on the same street with the victims and of course with the perpetrators of this genocide, you will also begin to ask yourself, how am I going to deal with the emotional, psychological experience and torture I go through this? So remembering and non-remembering is a question of choice, and to what extent you want to remember this is what we're talking about here.
I would like to come in here and say, in terms of remembrance, if we Rwandans were to leave the teachings of the genocide to the media and to history, it will be forgotten. I can want to correct that the media, the foreign media, the West, who deserted us when the trouble was there, keep on saying 800 people were killed. No. Over 1 million people were killed in 3 months. That is a high figure. For Rwanda, with a population of 12 million at the moment, so you can understand what the population we had back then. At the moment, 65% of women are in the parliament. That wouldn't have happened back then in those years. Why? Because we had so many men. So many men died.
So what in essence are you saying? Are you saying that we shouldn't remember the genocide?
We should.
Or we should remember it?
We should, so that our children will understand the reasons what we have now. They would value what we have now.
But let me ask you to clarify again. I mean, what makes you think that remembering such things and telling the history to your, to generations would help for the betterment of the country?
Okay. Right now, I'm a mother to 21 adopted children, of which 15 out of them were victims of rape. They were born through rape. Some of them have HIV. Some of them, their mothers have died. Some of them, their mothers deserted them by the roadside. I picked them up. Not because I don't have my own children. My own children died right in front of me, macheted by the Hinta Mohawes with my husband. What do you want me to tell those children? Who do I want to say is their father and their mother, knowing fully well I'm not?
Maybe
Why do I
let
have
me
to
ask
lie?
a question here.
I don't have to.
Let me ask a question
Rather,
here.
I would tell them their story so that they in turn can make sure it never happens again.
Prosper, before.
Yeah. Thank you. Before contributing in this topic, let me ask a question. Once, Abby, you tell this story to your grandchildren and your children, or those adopted children, about this genocide, these killings, mass killings, what do you think will happen? Do they not feel about revenge?
That's not the issue. It's not all about revenge. It's about forgiving and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Do you think it's
I'm
easy?
here, I'm strong. It's not easy to, trust me, it's not easy. I know that. I should be telling you that. After losing 3 kids and a husband, it's not easy. But you cannot sit and wallow in self-pity. That is the most important thing.
As a social analyst, I can tell you for sure that with the interviews we conducted with some of the victims of this genocide, there's so much in the inside of them. So many of them are still going through that sad moment. Some of them are bottled up with the pain. They are angry. Some of them will not even want to say anything. And any opportunity to allow them to ventilate this could possibly throw this country again into another brink of civil war.
That's my point. That's my point.
That's one part. The second part is that, of course, you cannot negate this in history, that this particular event also happened. And how you now deal with the process of getting over it will, to a large extent, deal with the future problems of Rwanda
Samson,
20 years
I asked you, because the earlier statement you gave was to remember or not is the choice.
Yeah.
But what is your choice, if I asked you?
The choice is the process of remembering. That's what I'm going to say. I mean, how will I choose to remember it? Will I remember it with the sense of, okay, look, I've forgotten and I'm not going to take anything against people who live with me? Or am I going to remember it with a sense of vengeance?
Okay, thank you. Prosper, the brief, it's a question, it's a short question to you. Can you please explain us what is the advantage of forgetting and forgiving?
Thank you very much. The advantage of forget and forgive is to make people now starting new life, new thinking, you see, a new neighborhood. Because once we still insisting our society to remember killings, it means we are creating something behind, it's creating something in their heart to think about revenge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to end our show, I would like to put up a question, and if you could give me in one statement. And now, what Rwanda should do from now?
I think the government of Rwanda has a serious responsibility on their hands to ensure that their citizens are catered for, they are protected, and they take them through this process, because it's 20 years on, and 20 years from now, we want to see Rwanda get to that place they were before they went into genocide.
Abby?
Basically, what I want for Rwanda is a Rwanda of unity, a Rwanda of peace. We should never forget history. It did happen, it is what it is. But there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Our children are our future.
Thank you. Prosper?
Thank you very much. I can say Rwanda, they have responsibility. It's not only government, but all society of Rwanda to think about their future, not to remember every time genocide, because it's not for benefit of their country.
Thank you so much for a wonderful statement. And I hope our viewers have enjoyed our discussion program today. Thank you so much for watching.